Okay, just relax, Brent. I'll be with you in a minute. Whenever I press play on these videos, I get instantly nervous, so I figured I'd just try to ease into this one so it looks a little more natural, speaking naturally. Anyways, welcome. As you can tell from the title, this is going to be an interesting one. I'm calling this I Fought the Law, ... And this is the last of our initial playlist on how I got involved in being a YouTube creator. All these videos are really interconnected. They don't necessarily build on one another, but they do form the foundation stones for what we're going to be doing going forward. And I've been looking forward to this one, but I've also been a little hesitant. I got my resources here. I got this. Just a warning, this one could go a little while. I've got a cup of black coffee over here. I've got a tea as a backup just in case, and if that fails, I got a Dr. Pepper ready to go. I've got a plate full of biscuits, nicely arranged in case I run out of energy. I've got my Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I got my Citizens Rule Book with the Constitution in there. I think we're ready to go. I hope you enjoyed the last video. We dove into my history of music and YouTube and how that kind of brought us to where we are today. I know a bunch of you really enjoyed the Andy Edwards video. Thank you so much. I'm a little overwhelmed by the response. A little amazed too. I didn't realize the Andy Edwards cult was so loyal and enthusiastic. I have asked Andy in the past how I could join his cult, and he hasn't got back to me. But in any case, thank you. Thank you. My subscribers pretty much doubled overnight as a result of that one video. It's got all kinds of views, and that's exciting. But like with all my videos, I need to kind of preface what we're going to talk about today with just a warning. Like if you came over from Andy's channel, welcome. I hope you find a place here. There's a seat at the table for you. I'll even put on a cup of coffee or tea for you. But also don't be disappointed if this isn't what you were expecting. We will talk about music going forward. Actually, it was kind of eye-opening. I probably could start a Brent Shimko 2 channel and just focus on reaction videos of boomer musicians, and that would probably do quite well. But I don't know that much about music. I'm not an expert in music. And let me preface this video. We're going to be talking about law. But what we're talking about here is not to be construed as legal advice. Like in the previous videos, nothing I said there is to be construed as expert music advice or opinion. Nothing is to be construed as proper mechanical advice on your automobile. Don't take any advice from Brent Shimko about crypto investing. Don't get any health advice from Brent Shimko. I just kind of want to get that out of the way. Like, if you haven't guessed by now, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, and I have a ton of opinions. And as a former truck driver, I think I know it all. If you don't believe me, just go ask a truck driver if you have any question on the face of the earth, and they'll give you an answer because it's true. We do know it all, or at least we think we do. So in any case, maybe we'll start easing into this. Yeah, because that's what you came for. So yeah, we're going to talk about my experience in pursuing knowledge about the law. and I don't have a background in law. Everything I'm sharing with you is stuff I've learned on the internet. And again, shout out to Reluctant Prophet supplying the wardrobe for this episode. We'll be talking a little bit more about RP a little later on here, and this does go in the area of activism and I guess pro se representation within the legal system. And my activism experience, or my it's not a career, but let's just go with my experience in activism, began in the early 2000s, and I was I guess involved in an area of restoring. It's about justice, like if you're going to be a part of this channel long term, one of the fundamentals is having a strong sense of justice and doing right and being right for the sake of rightness. And so there was an area, and we can discuss this, go into details at another time, but I got involved in kind of a matter of justice, and I came across some writing by Henry David Thoreau, and it was essentially an essay called On Civil Disobedience. And I have a copy of that essay somewhere in this house. I went and scrambled to see if I could find it, just so I could hold it up and show you I actually have it, and I'm not just saying that I read it. But don't get me wrong, I can't remember anything about that particular essay, but it did kind of plant a seed that there is a time and a place to either speak up or act up in response to what's going on in the culture, the society around you. And so this was like the early 2000s that I was looking at this material. The Bible has lots to say about civil disobedience. We're not going to delve into that here. We're not going to turn this into a Bible study. I want to stay focused on how this pertains to what I've drawn out of YouTube, and because that's why I'm sitting here before you. And in this realm, there are lots of interesting people with great senses of humor that are actually changing the world in their context, in their own way. And on that note, like, I think I'd like to be a change agent where I can. So maybe we can help each other, and we can inform each other, encourage each other how to be that change agent in our own contexts or locales or what have you, even in our own families. But in any case, let's get into the YouTube. I do have a couple of stories I'm going to interject in here just with my personal experience, because they are pertinent to the discussion. But way back, I'm going to say 2008. It's not way back, but that's like 15 years ago. 17 years ago. I came across a YouTube, and this was in the early days of kind of cop watching and that idea. And the creator is named Gavin Syme. He's an American. I believe he was in the Southwest United States. From what I understand, he's in Mexico now. He felt it was safest for his family to seek asylum there. And back then, the first videos I was familiar with, he was doing things. Oh, I don't have a prop here. He would grab his cell phone or dash cam, and he was filming the authorities, specifically, well, I guess cops as well. I didn't watch a ton of his material, but kind of once you've seen one, you kind of catch the concept and you don't have to watch every video. But it had to do with these inland border patrols, within 50 miles or 100 miles of the U.S. border. So I guess he was either near the New Mexico border or Texas or Arizona. I'm not entirely sure. You can look them up, and those videos are still online. You can find them on YouTube. And how he was dealing with the unconstitutionality of these traffic stops and recording the encounters. And instantly I kind of saw the power in that you were making the system, you were shining a light on the system. You were imposing transparency on them when it was clear they didn't want anything to do with transparency. They didn't want to have anything to do with constitutionality. And it was fascinating. And I took this in and thought, wow, like this guy's got some brass balls doing this. Because back then, the culture is not like it is today. Like I don't want to spring forwards and backwards in time. I'm trying to keep this as chronological as possible. And I think I've got some good notes. We're gonna make it work, but get comfortable. You can pause the video and go grab a beverage if you need at this point, because there's a story coming up. So anyways, around this time, I was living in Winnipeg. That's kind of the major city in our region. Population about 750,000 people, and grew up there, lived there my whole life. I know that city like the back of my hand. And I was self-employed at the time, and it was a Saturday afternoon. I was just tooling around in my little Ford Ranger pickup truck with the 4-cylinder Mazda motor. I loved that truck. That thing did me well, even though I didn't treat her well. But in any case, I was driving down the road on my way home, and I was a couple of miles from home, and cop pulls me over on the side of a busy roadway and demanded my ID. I had politely rolled down my window and asked, what's the reason for the stop? And he wouldn't tell me. He just said, I would like your license and registration, please. And I said, yeah, I have no problem supplying you that if you would just let me know, like, what seems to be the problem here? Why are you stopping me? And instantly he went from, 0 to 100. It was almost like a demonic transformation. Like he was virtually ready to go hands-on. And he said, listen, give me your license and registration right now, or I'll arrest you. And I had it like in my hands, like, you can have this, but I did not understand the response at all. Now, the beautiful thing is, before the time of iPhones, I had one of these BlackBerry flip phones, and it had a audio recorder on there. So I did record the audio of the transaction. And he took my information. Like, that was basically the extent of the interaction. The impression, though, it left on me was that, wow, these... I'm gonna watch what I say, just because it's not for the algorithm's sake or for YouTube's sake. I don't want to be a people pleaser, but I don't want to unnecessarily turn people off. So in any case, this young man came back with my license as pleasant could be, said, thank you very much, Mr. Shimko, have a nice day. And that was it. And I'm like, what just happened? Like, I couldn't believe that he was willing to arrest me for offering him the least bit of resistance and honest inquiry as to what seems to be the problem, officer. Like, if there's something wrong, I'd like to make it right. But there was no discussion. I took my information back, went on home, but then immediately went online and checked up on our local Highway Traffic Act. And within the codes, there's a provision that when stopped by an officer, the driver of a vehicle must immediately, upon request, produce these documents, license and registration. And I'm not quoting it verbatim, but that's the gist of it. And that just seems so odd to me. It's like, what? Like, with no reason, with no, as they call, probable cause or any suspicion of some wrongdoing, like you can just, and what I so wanted to say to this cop at the time is like, did I pass a border like into North Korea here somewhere that I'm not aware of? Like, what's your problem? Like, I couldn't believe in, small prairie town in Canada that this kind of jackboot thug type behavior was going on and justified by the acts and statutes in place. And I just thought, this can't be right. Like, they got to have a reason to stop you. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. So anyways, I left at that. End of that story. That's kind of it left a deep imprint on me. And from there, I kind of started seeing things in a different light. Keep in mind, like, there was a bunch of red pilling going on in the past, around that time. I was listening to Alex Jones previous to that. I mean, Alex Jones gave me this thing here for free. I forget what I ordered from him, but I got some stuff, and that was like a free gift. So it's like reading up on what's going on in America land, and really the two legal systems are very similar. I'm going to do a whole video on the political system in Canada, just for people that are outside of Canada and maybe even inside of Canada to understand a little better in like simplistic layman's terms. But yeah, took that experience with this traffic stop and it got my blood boiling. And it was sort of a quest, like, how do we deal with this? So from there, it was kind of a rabbit hole journey. I came across, and I'm sure many of you, if you've gone down this path, you've heard of something called online the common law. And there were common law gurus all over the place, and one of them was actually a local hometown boy that was right in my vicinity. Oh, there's another guy. Name, I got it right here. There were two hometown boys, but chronologically speaking, I came across material from Dean Clifford online. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that name, but he was kind of the notorious guy in Canada when it came to free man on the land stuff. There are others that I'm not going to mention. I want to stick to the people that I encountered on YouTube. And so Dean Clifford did have a YouTube channel, and he was teaching on the common law and the Sesta KV Trust and the all caps name, on your birth certificate and all these ideas, and it blew my mind. Like, and intuitively it's like, okay, I believe what he's saying is all true. And the thing is, how do I apply this? How is this of any use to me? And so I spent years watching Dean. He had courses or seminars that he was putting out on YouTube. He ended up getting arrested. I don't want to go into everybody's bio and history, but he ended up getting arrested right at the time when he was proposing a cooperative community living / cooperative, where you could have a marketplace of people and labor and product and connecting with your neighbors and the land, some communal living possibly, but also doing business with like-minded people and stewardship of our resources. And it was a great concept. I really wanted to see that launch. And then he ended up going to jail. So he spent a few years in jail, came back out, and he kind of had tweaked his understanding of what he was presenting on the other side of his jail time. Concurrently with the Dean Clifford material, there was an American, he's still on YouTube as well, Carl Lentz, and it's Carl with a K, Lentz. And likewise, the common law, a little bit of courtroom procedure, which is, to me, has been the mystery. Like, your average person, if you're not involved in the legal system, you have no idea what goes on in a courtroom. Like, you get in some legal trouble, you call a lawyer knowing that it's going to be financially painful in most cases if you're in some kind of serious trouble with the law, or you're secure enough and you have a lawyer on retainer and they're just part of your staff essentially. But it was through these guys, Dean Clifford, Carl Lentz, I came across the idea of Black's Law Dictionary, things like trust law, United Commercial Code or UCC, and kind of throughout that time too, the name Larkin Rose was circulating somewhat, and it was spoken almost in hushed tones. And he was taking on the IRS. It was his dealio was the tax protest, and I'm not making light of it, but it was sort of, from what I know of Larkin now, because I still follow him, is he was basically testing the waters to see what were the consequences of not filing pieces of paper with the government. And so he ended up in jail for I don't know what amount of time. Again, you can find these people and their channels. I don't know if I'm going to link to channels or tag people. I'll just say this right here. If you're a follower of some of these people, or if you are one of these people and you'd like a tag, I'll add one. But I don't know what everybody's doing in their particular realm, so I don't want to draw attention to you if you don't want it, or if you don't like what I'm saying, to somehow link my opinion to throw what you're doing off the rails. So if you want to connect with these people, either just do a search, or if you connect with me in the comments, I can help you find them. Or like I say, if you want a tag, I can make tags. But I'm just gonna shout out the names here, and that's kind of as far as it's gonna go with this video. But anyways, the idea of the tax protest goes back to the original concept of civil disobedience, like completely nonviolent, right? But the state's response is violence, right? We're going to steal you from your family. We're going to remove your liberty and lock you in a cage like an animal because you didn't file pieces of paper with the government. And so you're a bad person. And it really comes down to, I guess, people struggle with the idea of taxation without representation. It's in the States. There's tax protest movements that have been going on here in Canada, on and off. And so I was kind of emboldened back at that time, whether it was 2009, 2010, 2011, around there, I stopped submitting my tax forms. Here's the second story, the second anecdote here, if you will. And so I was a tax protester for a good number of years. And my premise was that you're spending my money on things that I'm not authorizing. Like it was a moral position I was taking. if there was another way to get remedy or recourse from politicians and people in places of power of just wasting my resource, which is how I see a lot of government spending. It's just a transfer of wealth. I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to give you access or easy access, and so I had my little tax protest. Now, it ended more or less a happy ending. I didn't spend any time behind bars. The totality of my jail time or time incarceration is to be measured in hours, not days or weeks. There's a couple of times I was thrown in the drunk tank, back in the day. What else? I was booked on an impaired driving charge, which again, I don't want to say I'm wallowing in shame over that, but that was a regret. That was stupid. Stupid, I'll admit it. I feel I've reformed. There's no temptation to get behind the wheel impaired now, since I don't drink pretty much, period. The strongest thing I put in my body really is coffee or kombucha. Well, I guess the sugar is a bit of a drug, but I'm pretty much raw dogging life at this point in my life, and have been for the last 20 years. I live pretty clean in that regard. But in any case, I did this tax protest, and eventually, here it's not the IRS, it's called Canada Revenue Agency, formerly known as Revenue Canada Agency. For some reason, they had to switch it up. I kind of joked at the time. I guess people were catching on that it was a scam, so they had to rebrand it or something back in the early 2000s. But in any case, the Canada Revenue Agency started then sending me threatening letters, and we're going to do this, you owe us that, we're going to come do terrible things to you. And I